be on it, yes, composition.
Right.
I couldn't read AI's writing. So anyway, we've got a draft of the mission statement. Has everybody read it? Anybody got a problem with it?
I think we have,
There are
We got a
several,
bunch of
there are a
drafts.
couple of drafts.
We've heard,
Well, I'm reading AI right now.
Yeah, it's a much more eloquent
It-
statement
I
than the
guess
one
I
I
do.
submitted, but essentially it says the same thing.
It tightens it up.
Right.
I've got just a question in terms of these papers in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got Al's, thanks Al for sending
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Yep.
What is this unsigned one?
That's the same thing. That's what I tried to send you via email, but apparently a lot of people
Yep.
couldn't open it.
You should have a third.
And then there's something that says AI generated.
These have different topics, so these are two different statements.
So here,
Oh,
let's,
that's one that was sent out
so there's
several
kind
months
of
ago.
multiple mission statements that have been drafted. We have provided one that was AI generated.
Got that?
We have also provided the mission statement that the town had for the prior comp plan.
which is on the back of the AI
It's on the
generated.
back side of the AI generated document. And then we have a mission statement that the former chair of the comp plan committee, Al LeGros, has put forth.
Yeah,
This one.
right.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So,
And then there's a printout of an email Al sent
right,
back in February
Right.
about comp plan.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
I guess, just a couple of things starting out this conversation. Obviously, this committee is important because if it doesn't exist and it doesn't really operate, all we have is a big doorstop in terms of the comprehensive plan. So,
not a very good one at that.
yeah, it's not very big, so it's important for an implementation committee to be put together and to start operating and working. This is a broad plan. It covers 13 specific topics. And as a result of that, I thought the best way to really link up the plan with the existing committees in the town was to look at the feasibility initially of putting this implementation committee together with volunteers or nominees from existing committees in the town. In other words, obviously, planning's important, conservation is important, you know, and the 13 areas as you go through the list, it really addresses, I think there are 29 committees or something like that in the town. And they address really all of these things that we covered in the comprehensive plan. So I guess the first thing is, I'm ambivalent about language that you want to adopt about the purpose of the implementation committee, because the AI-generated draft is not that different from what I submitted, although mine is a little bit simpler and less eloquent. So I think that gives us a good basis to kind of put something together. What I think is a little bit more challenging is the composition of this committee and how we're going to ensure that the people that are on the committee are tapped into and are able to monitor what's going on throughout the town committees and the boards in a way that they can understand what's going on and then provide some feedback and insight into how that meshes with the comp plan. So I think one obvious approach is to say, do we want to look to the existing committees and boards in the town as a source of people for this particular committee? I guess that's the first question I would ask.
I'm thinking even outside the committees. I heard that, what's his name from MCOG recommended that you start fresh.
Start fresh.
Start fresh.
Okay. Interesting.
Well,
Put the
you're
word out
supposed
for
to be here.
volunteers. Go- Have a committee select volunteers, or the select board does it, but that was one of the thoughts, is just to, maybe start over, or start fresh.
I agree with that. The only thing I would add is I think there are certain committees that should be represented on this new
sure.
committee.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
i.e.
yeah.
the planning board, like Al said, conservation, or
Right.
Yeah.
resiliency and sustainability. So maybe
How
kind of
how
a
would,
mix of both.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
think
how
a
would that,
mix
how would
be
that
good.
take place? Would the town send out a notice or something saying we were looking
Yeah.
for volunteers and?
Yeah, like we do everything, next anchor, it doesn't have to be done this month.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that, go ahead.
No, Mary Ann?
Marion, could you speak into the mic? Thank you. I want to
Of all
make sure you
people.
get picked
Yeah.
up.
Good thing this is recorded, because that doesn't
How
happen
about
very
that?
often.
I'm probably the only one here that has experience with the last comp plan. And what had happened at that time, there was a committee, and as you remember, as this comp plan, it has implementation. It has designated committees on implementation.
Yep.
We were given the chore of being handed, you do the open space plan. And then everybody walked away. We spent 3 years with the learning curve, having to get funding to do it. I guess my suggestion was, as I looked at this, at least in the implementation plan, there are committees that are mentioned, and I think it's good to have some experience, and they can be then a bridge to both the committees.
Yeah, well,
Plus, you want new people as well.
Yeah.
so a mixture of new and,
Yeah.
in some specific areas, maybe pulling from the committees that we have established.
Well, it's just, maybe everybody knows, how does this committee get selected? Because that's going to impact how I think about its composition, frankly.
I'm sitting here thinking about that right now.
I'm way ahead of you. What do you think?
I think we put a list of candidates, who volunteers for it, look at the candidates, and what committee they're from, what they can offer to the committee. And, we actually want this to move forward, regardless of what I said 5 years ago.
Oh, you retracted that?
Well, I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
And then the select board is going to choose?
Well,
Yeah.
we have the final say, let's put it that way.
We could narrow the list down and then
Yeah, okay,
and
just as long as we know, yeah.
circulate it amongst everybody, so make sure everybody's on, the people who've been on the planning board, if they're not gonna be on this, they should have some say, I think, on who's on the committee.
Yeah.
After all those years.
Not to say that you couldn't reach out to certain groups or individuals for advice,
Yeah.
but I see you're recommending maybe 10 members.
Well,
And-
my thought about a
Any-
size,
Agree.
you want to be able to cover the waterfront, so you need a certain number of people. It can't be like 5 or 6.
Right. Yep.
But we seem to function fairly good with, we had, I think, 10 or 11 members on the task force.
Yeah, it was too many.
You think it's too many.
I agree.
Well, just remember that a camel is a horse designed by a committee. So the more people you get on it, the more unwieldy it becomes.
That's exactly right.
On the other hand, I hear what you're saying about diverse representation from
Yeah.
different sides of town and different activities.
I mean, while I think, a committee of 10 or so, how many people are on,
Fisheries?
yeah,
A lot, but that's because we have so many different fisheries, and we needed to pull somebody from every fishery.
Yeah.
Same reason.
Well, this is sort of like that.
Well,
Yeah.
what-
I think there's 7 and 2 alternates, so
What-
9.
what are the major, say, controversial parts of the comp plan that we do?
housing.
Housing's the most controversial, by a long shot.
Then, of
Yeah.
course, the overriding concerns about natural resources, conservation, preserving
Rural character.
rural character and things like
Don't know
that.
what that is.
And you know, this really lays out
Huh?
Yeah,
what we gotta do.
yeah.
I think you're looking at it.
I mean, I put 10 down because I didn't think the task force was overly large. I thought it was manageable, but I also feel as though we can't have like a huge number of people just to cover everything. We need to,
Well, what about you three? The other three? What do you think a good number would be?
I can only reference, I remember when we set up the resiliency committee, there was a lot of concern about that number. And we did talk you into doing 9 and 2 alternates, I
Yeah.
think. It's worked out well because it allowed us to get the people that, from committees that were going to be involved. So it has worked well for us in that respect. And we've always had a quorum, I think, except once in 3 years.
You're talking about RNS?
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say about RNS, though, is a lot of the committee members, some of them are not regular attendees.
That's true.
Like, you have kind of a core group that attend, and then some, like, fringe members.
And we wanted some at-large members, and we knew when we chose them that they would not be able to make all the meetings. But 10 has worked okay for us.
Well, generally, we like an odd number so that you never have a tie vote.
Right, well.
I mean, that's
I know
just something to
9
consider. I don't know if we ever get
Yeah.
that close where we need to have,
No, you should
9.
have an odd number.
Well, if you want that large, then 9 or 11.
all right,
I think it's always wise to stick with the apostle principle and no more than 12. Knock Judas off and you got 11, and I think 11 is fine. On the representation business, I don't like the word representation because we don't want people coming to this group representing some interest with a fixed point of view. I think that the members are committed to the plan.
Yeah.
Now, I think, and I would certainly respect the judgment of the select board, I think that that the individuals should be chosen representing, broadly speaking, communities and geography, and that we should leave it at that. I think there's, the only other question I have, and actually this is sort of this is an advisory committee only. It has absolutely
Right.
no authority, correct?
correct.
Okay, just to be clear about that. And I think, by the way, that should be stated in the mission
That's a
statement.
good idea.
It should just be clear up front, this is an advisory committee.
Mary Ann
which is fine.
disagrees.
Well, I like this one. Okay. I don't disagree, but I think advisory maybe doesn't show the importance. I visualize and see this committee working with, well, I'm gonna use conservation because that's what I know. We're gonna be interested in getting an open space plan updated. We're gonna need funds to do that. Yes, we're only advising, and maybe there's just another word. And people will have to vote on money to do that. And any ordinance change, people are gonna have to vote on. So, I like what you're saying about getting these other communities. Maybe there's another word other than advising that covers it.
yeah, when I look at say the AI-generated draft, talks about committee to guide, support, and monitor the implementation of the Town of Harpswell's comprehensive plan. The wording that I submitted earlier, just as a starting point, was to monitor and encourage. So, I mean,
Yeah,
they're sort of the same. It's a little bit more than advising, because you're actually kind of pushing the value of the plan, you know, in a way that is more than just advisory.
so I think so.
So,
What happens if the person on our committee, this committee, feels that a particular town committee is not following the goals set out? I mean, you could just
Well, the implementation,
remind them of that.
but the implementation says what your goal is. And it's not a goal, it's a task.
Pardon?
The implementation plan gives you a task for a town committee to do. So that's the task that they're working on. So,
You always follow your mission statement.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm sort of missing what your question is getting at.
How do you keep people on track?
Yeah,
Is
and
that
is
what
that
you
our
mean?
job?
Okay.
I would say, yeah, as committee members.
That's the chair's job, frankly,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The chair's job of,
keeping it
Yeah.
focused and following the mission statement.
I think it's important to realize too that when this implementation committee is formed, that not everything in the comprehensive plan is gonna be able to be implemented. We have to be realistic about that, even if we wanted everything to happen, it's not. So I think whoever that chair may end up being should focus on the areas that we think will be the easiest to get implemented, start there, and then work their way down to the things that they feel will be more difficult. And I think by doing it that way, they'll stay more on track, I guess, and follow the.
And not get too discouraged.
Right. And they'll see progress that way.
And I just wanted to add that I think this committee helps with the prioritization, because when you look at all the checklists in that comp plan, I've raised this issue before, it takes capacity to get through all of these recommendations. So I do think, as you said, Matt, there needs to be this prioritization of
Yeah.
what is most important to accomplish first, second, but there's a long list in many different areas, and I think our ability.
If you count everything in that matrix, if you will, there are over 250 suggestions / recommendations. Obviously, not all of them are gonna be able to
And there's,
see the light of day, but,
and there's a certain prioritization there by short,
yeah,
medium, and
true.
long term.
Right.
You need to apply some triage to it.
Yeah, but I do think that the matrix is valuable as a valuable starting point for a committee like this, because, it immediately offers the ability to say, okay, we're working on that, we've got that done. Some of these things have already been accomplished.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of say, that's done, that's done, that's done, here, and then you kind of work your prioritization on that. So I do think, that's why I said, I think the starting place for a comprehensive plan implementation committee is that matrix. You start there and say, okay, what's been done, what are some near-term, low-hanging fruit, and then move on from there to the bigger issues. So I don't think, I think it's certainly valuable from that standpoint. And so, so just to kind of circle back, just to say, getting back to the mission statement, I'm ambivalent about whether the mission statement I submitted or the AI-generated mission statement, as I say, I essentially say the same thing, but I think slightly,
Well, I think that, I hate to say it, I like the AI,
Yeah.
because,
that's fine.
It's okay, it's flawed.
well,
You're not gonna hurt my
I
feelings.
appreciate what you've done, Al, I really do. The AI one is more widely focused. I mean, it talks about the things that you talked about, preserving character, but it's also the natural resources, promoting businesses and
Right, right.
municipal services, and it's a little more inclusive, I guess.
So, I mean, that's fine with me. I think that, not having seen this before today,
Yeah.
I think this is great.
We get dropped,
Good start.
things dropped on us hot all the time, so it's like, kind of used to it.
It's a good starting place. And then,
You're thinking.
I think composition,
Could we stick on one subject instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
some
okay,
clarity
I'm
before we
trying
start?
to kind of
Yeah,
move this.
yeah, we'll stick with the mission statement,
Yeah.
and
All
we'll
right.
move on to.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I would propose that we adopt the mission statement.
Well, I think
you.
maybe other input too. You have
Okay.
somebody by Zoom, and Amy came in late. You may want to get some more input. And this is a workshop, so the board won't be making any decisions. You can, it's really to talk about the drafts and try to get a firmer idea of what the board may decide to adopt, but there's not going to be any official action today.
Yeah, correct.
Does somebody want to read the draft mission statement for
Would you
our
mind?
viewers?
I'll read it.
Oh,
right.
thank you, Matt.
The mission of the comprehensive
Oh,
plan
This is the
implementation.
AI,
Yeah, this is the AI generator, and that's the one you want me to read, right? Yep. The mission of the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee is to guide, support, and monitor the implementation of the Town of Harpswell's comprehensive plan in a manner that reflects the community's vision, preserves Harpswell's unique character and natural resources, and promotes thoughtful, sustainable decision-making. The committee will work collaboratively with the Select Board, town staff, committees, and community members to prioritize implementation strategies, encourage public engagement, track progress towards plan goals, and recommend actions that strengthen Harpswell's economic vitality, environmental stewardship, municipal services, and quality of life for current and future residents.
It's good.
Well,
Right. AI.
Yeah, I actually liked Al's, but let's stick with the AI one. We'll stick with the AI one. And it's a typical AI statement too, because AI is sort of like lowest common denominator, make everybody happy sort of thing. I would just say that this, half of the first paragraph should be struck. It should just say, the mission statement, the mission of this comprehensive plan is to provide guide, support, and monitor. Those are strong verbs and better than Al's sort of soft words. The implementation of Town of Harpswell's comprehensive plan, full stop. The rest is just mom and apple pie stuff to make people feel good, I suppose, but I just think it's just adding stuff. And second of all, the second paragraph is fine, and I would just stop it at the last two lines. Recommend actions that strengthens Harpswell's implementation plan, full stop. Getting us involved in a whole new idea of economic vitality, stewardship, municipal services, this is the plan implementation. This is not feel good about everything in the world kind of thing. So I would just strike the latter parts of both paragraphs, keep it short and punchy.
So there was some question about the advisory role of the committee. And this, the first paragraph kind of answers that. This is just a little bit more than advisory. This is steering and directing and encouraging.
Hold it towards green.
Amy's trying.
I just wanted, I'm not sure that this is actually.
Wait a minute, she's got to turn you up in
Is
there.
it on? I don't know.
It's not on, is it?
There we go, now it's working.
Oh,
Thank you,
you're on
Al.
now.
I don't disagree with Bob, but I do think it's important that we are really clear that there are some conflicting goals in the comprehensive plan. And so I don't think it's necessarily.
Can you turn that up again, or I don't know what happened?
She's dying out.
The button is where you hold it, that is the problem,
Okay.
Maybe the batteries
There you
are
go.
flat on that.
maybe.
I don't think it's necessarily wasted to add, to keep in some of this language in the first paragraph. I get Bob's,
Concern.
well, his criticism that it's kind of overloading on the words and the feel-good stuff, but there are some things in the comp plan that are contradictory, and that's because it's trying to please everybody. But that's just something I wanted to say. And the other thing is, rather than coming at this from a top-down, like the implementation committee is going to make sure everything happens, I hope that we can get the various towns and committees and the select board to buy into specific things that they want to promote or do from the comp plan, that will implement it according to their level of responsibility. So not just make it top-down, but also make it really go back and forth and all-inclusive, right?
Also, the time for fresh ideas has kind of gone by. It's in the plan. The ideas are there. So straying too much from that will take you out of your mission statement.
Amy, could you expand on what you were just saying? Because I found that interesting about not being top-down.
It feels to me like the most effective and actually efficient way to implement the plan is to involve as many of the different boards, committees, elected offices that are responsible in their own unique way for ensuring that the strategies and the goals and objectives of the comp plan are met. The implementation committee can't be responsible for all of it. I mean, it can guide it and monitor it, but I think it has to be a two-way street with all of the different committees, boards, and select board representatives. That will reinforce. It's like having a surgical scar where you close. Sorry to be so graphic, but where you close the wound by with a number of different things. You stitch it, then you put a Band-Aid on top of it, and you use surgical glue. You know, there'll be lots of different ways of implementation that will reinforce and support each other.
Interesting analogy.
I know, sorry about that. It's just what came to my head.
Yeah, well, we did talk about that, I think, before you got here, about the composition of the committee and how many members they'd be. And you don't have to have 1 million people on the committee to get things done. You can seek advice from professionals. You can seek advice from committee chairs. You can, it doesn't mean that the committee does it all. And you don't have to have total 100% representation on the committee necessarily.
Right. What I'm trying to say is the town voters approved the comp plan. The select board is elected to do the will of the town voters. And the comp plan sets out some things that are really within the domain and responsibility of the select board. The various committee members that take an oath to support the town are also representing the vote of the townspeople who voted to support the comp plan. So it makes real sense to me to involve those folks as much as possible and make it a two-way street.
Yeah, I agree, because they've been working a long time, probably. I'm only vaguely familiar with the housing committee. I mean, they've really been putting in a lot of work for a long time. I hope that, whatever the goals are in the town plan, they've thought about or are working on or plan to be working on. But, yeah, I mean, we're not just coming in and shoving the goals down people's throats, because they've been doing this work for a long time. Don't want to get in a conflict.
I guess I'm going back to, and this came up before you came in, Amy. There's specific short-term goals that are given to a committee, and I would expect, the committee's going to take care of it. And the more interaction you can have with the comp plan implementation committee itself, whether it's by representation on it or some direct direction, so that if it's an important project, it's moving forward and it's not just being worked on and then forgotten about.
That's a good point. I think that, for example, housing, a lot of the committees could knock off some of this stuff, but they need to have a copy of the comp plan to work from when they do it, not just off willy-nilly. So I think having the comp plan committee oversee it so that the housing committee would come to you guys and say, this is the way we would like to approach this is the way we would like to get this part of this done. And you are, you're coordinating the whole thing.
Well, you would have members of the housing committee on the,
Sure.
on the committee itself. They
Yep.
would, you wouldn't be looking for their help. They'd be part of the committee.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Obviously.
Well, and it's important to remember that whatever committee we end up creating, this will be a public committee with public meetings, and there's no reason that said implementation committee can't invite the housing committee to one of their meetings when they're gonna be discussing a lot of the housing goals, or invite the fisheries committee or the marine resource committee when they're discussing the working waterfront. So, I don't think we necessarily have to pull from every committee as long as the new implementation committee is willing to work hand in hand with the committees we have now.
So I see the role of the implementation committee being twofold. One, the urgent need is to update the land use map and the ordinances based on recommendations in the comp plan. That's what I see like the big task of the comp plan implementation committee within like the first 2 years. And then I think the second half of their mission would be coordinating the implementation with the other committees. So, making sure that the other committees are doing it, keeping on top of it, keeping an open line of communication, supporting them, and just making sure that you, as Al is really good at, carrying the momentum of implementing the comp plan. So that's kind of what I see those two big, the land use, because that's really what the comp plan's about, is land use, and then implementation and coordination with other committees. And I would like to remind everybody that I plan on having a consultant for this. I was hoping to have this process started already, but I'm working on the RFP, and hopefully we'll get somebody by the summertime.
This is a consultant for this implementation committee?
Yeah. So having,
That's a red flag for me.
Oh.
It's great to have a
Yeah.
consultant, but I think we screwed up the last time we hired a consultant. We want to be really careful not to repeat our mistakes. I don't mean in terms of who we choose. but
Yeah.
just the way in which we decide what their real role is.
yes, I see the role as being to help us work through the ordinance amendments, because there's so many recommendations. So work through the drafting of them, the implications of the amendments, and then helping us set up a program to make sure that, and work collaboratively with all the other committees. So like,
So you said have you drafted this RFP?
I started,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get a copy of it?
yeah, once I'm done drafting it,
Mike,
I'll send you a copy.
Mike.
I'll send you a copy.
I think
Maybe you
something.
can share it with everyone.
Another thing that hasn't been mentioned yet in terms of composition of the committee is we live in a very, very large town geographically. And I think that whoever we place on this implementation committee, we should have representatives from each of the three peninsulas, for lack of better terms. So we should be sure that we aren't just picking people from the island and the Neck, that we have people from Cundy's Harbor, from the Oars, Baileys, and the
Yeah.
Neck. So each part of town is equally represented as well.
I see Monique, looks like she's interested.
Are you with us, Monique? Can you hear us?
I'm here. I've got no comment.
I'm sorry. Well, the thing about, I think that's a good idea, but that's a specific issue. And that the consultant better know a lot about that specific issue. But then, that consultant, it would seem like you need somebody else to be like a consultant around the fisheries issue. Because that's a whole different expertise.
Well, the fisheries committee would deal with the fisheries issue. The implementation committee would work to ensure that all of the recommendations, or as many as possible, are being implemented by the various committees.
Right.
And the consultant would help us set up a program to keep that pace ongoing.
Well, I gotta agree with Bob. I think, the consultant we had, for the comprehensive town plan, made things difficult sometimes. So,
I understand you guys are a little gun shy.
Yeah, I'll be the one
Feeling
to
it.
say it. I felt as though we wasted $80,000 on
Yeah.
that consultant.
yeah, I agree.
And I don't want to make that same mistake again.
Of course.
Yeah. I want to pick up on something. I think we really do need to emphasize this in the mission statement. What Amy was saying about bottom up as opposed to top down. And I think I'll write up some of this stuff and give it to the staff at the select board for you to deal with it as you will. But I would say something like the ongoing work of the implementation falls on the boards, commissions, and committees of the town, full stop, to be very clear. Now, you've just raised the possibility that the implementation committee might get involved in some serious nitty-gritty stuff on some specific zoning questions, and that may have to happen, but I don't think we want to take away from the fact that implementation is the job. The hard work of implementation is with the committees and commissions and boards, and it has to start there, and that the implementation committee is to help prioritize through consultation. And we need a section on methodology. That's a terrible word, but how it goes about its work, we need a section on that says it's going to work with these committees and commissions, not over them, not directing them, and so on. And second of all, I would also say someplace or there that it, in the opening sentence, says recommends priorities to, or establishes, develops priorities to recommend to the select board. To be, without using the word advisory, maybe, just to be clear that there is a hierarchy here of a certain sort.
All right, so where we at?
Well,
Another question.
Well, we have yet to fully accept the
Mission statement.
mission statement.
Well, we can't really vote
I
on it.
mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
We can nod.
Yeah.
We're going to do that today.
we
No,
get
but
a
I think you have
consensus.
good input, and we can redraft
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
on this discussion, and I hear what you're saying about a little more of this bottom approach, moving to the top as opposed to
Yeah.
the top, moving
Yeah.
it down. But ultimately, that it becomes an advisory recommendation to the select board, whatever those issues might be, or the implementation pieces, they will come back to the select board. Everyone understands that.
I
So-
would put in a sentence saying that, to give it a little authority, though, that this commission has does everything that goes on the town warrant have to go through the select board?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's scary.
That is, well, there's a petition approach.
Yeah. Oh, what?
There's a petition approach, but otherwise, everything on the warrant, your elected officials decide.
Shades of the
Okay. I
commissariat.
would put in there, though, that one of the expectations is that as appropriate, the implementation committee will make recommendations for warrants to the town, to the select board.
Well, that's going to come up like if Margaret's.
Oh,
You're not talking to the mic.
somebody's irritated in the back.
Somebody was about to slap you up behind the
I
head.
know.
We'll call her Mary Annie.
You're being really tough on me today. You're getting back at me. What was I saying?
So now it's like to be on the other side, right?
So basically, just as Margaret works up a group of ordinance changes for town meeting with the planning board usually, that would be the same thing that you would be doing for the comp plan piece.
Yeah.
It would seem,
Yep.
so it would be that same process.
All right,
so I guess what I heard was that maybe Bob would submit some thoughts to the select board and.
Well, everybody should.
Okay.
Bottom up.
Okay, encourage people to submit their thoughts on the mission statement to the select board. as soon as convenient, feasible.
When's our next meeting's a week
May
from
7th.
Thursday, right?
May 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, before the next meeting, to give,
It'd be nice to have it by Tuesday
Yeah.
morning, because we like to post the information on the website.
okay, so a week from today.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
good.
By Monday.
By Monday.
By Monday,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah,
Monday?
Monday
Okay,
would
next
be
Monday.
best.
Any additional thoughts, recommendations to the select board by Monday on the mission statement?
And I think we have a good base. Would everyone agree with that, just
Yeah,
with some
yeah,
small
Sure,
edits?
Sure.
Can we send the new draft out around?
And then the next thing is composition of
Yeah.
the committee. I think we sort of discussed the fact that it would be a mixture of people on existing committees, plus some fresh faces.
Yep.
Kind of-
What would you think about, obviously it depends on who applies,
Yeah.
but what would you think about like 5 members from existing committees and 4 members of the public or something?
I like the idea of 9, because then you could do 3, 3, and 3 from each peninsula as well.
And then,
have
or like
representation.
3-person working groups or subcommittees?
Well,
I'm
you
counting
got-
Cundy's Harbor as a
Harbor
peninsula.
area.
Yeah.
the-
What?
yeah,
I'm
There's
counting
3
Cundy's Harbor as a
neighborhoods.
Cundy's,
peninsula.
the islands, and
You'll
West
leave it
Harbor.
We're like a little bump off the side of one of them.
You're forgetting about
Well, you're
that.
Great Island.
Okay, so
Great
I
island.
think what
You're
I'm
in
hearing
the
is that we're
middle.
leaning toward 9 people on the committee.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say there definitely has to be, out of the 5 of the existing, if you go with that model, one of them has to be a representative from the planning board.
Definitely,
Agreed.
Yep.
Yep.
And
No.
definitely.
does that include the 9 members, does that include the chair and the vice chair?
Yes.
So that would be inclusive of the chair and the vice chair, okay. Great.
And I think you bring up a good point there, Margaret. I think maybe figure out what committees we feel would be most important to be represented on I agree, the planning board is obviously one, but then we still, that's 1 or 2 people from there, so we still get
Conservation, housing.
conservation,
Somebody from housing.
Fisheries,
Yeah,
housing, and
Yep.
fisheries.
Yeah,
and maybe
Or marine
recreation.
resources. I think you could pull somebody from either fisheries, marine resources, or even harbor and waterfront,
yep, yep.
you know.
I think the
Yeah.
select board in its wisdom can do that without saying, you're the representative from fisheries, you're the representative from so-and-so. Planning board may be special, fine, make that a formal ex officio job. But rather than say, this committee is represented by this person, you guys are gonna figure out how to get a broadly represented thing of the fishing community, of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and the tree huggers and everybody else.
The environmental.
I appreciate your,
Thank you.
I appreciate the confidence, Bob.
Confidence.
I was thinking
Well,
the same
it's
thing.
dinner time, I wanna go home.
All right, there's the honest truth. That's what I like.
One rep from either RNS or conservation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
The tree huggers as
the
well.
tree huggers have some specific duties in this comp plan.
Yeah.
And they would interact with RSC where needed.
Yeah.
and I think that all sounds logical and appropriate. I think the starting place, using the matrix that's in the comp plan as a starting point for the new committee, that can be shared with the existing committees to make sure everybody's on the same sheet. As I said before, there are some things that have already probably been accomplished.
A lot, I think most.
Yeah, so we can, you can use that as a checklist to say, this is done, this is done, this is
Right.
done, here are some things. And that will help prioritize the future work and future emphasis and stuff, so I think should be stressed. And then reporting, I thought, should be clarified, because I don't necessarily think, personal opinion, this committee necessarily has to meet every 2 weeks or every, frequently throughout the year, but it needs to meet enough to make sure that the select board and the staff and the residents have an understanding of the progress being made and the issues that have developed and so on and so forth. And I was suggesting you know, at a minimum, they ought to meet every, you know, 3 or 4 times, you know, during the fiscal year, during the year,
I disagree.
okay?
Within the first 2 years, I think they need to meet bi-monthly,
Okay,
twice a
fine.
month. Because they're responsible for updating the shoreline zoning map, drafting all the ordinance amendments. Like, that is what the big function of the implementation committee is gonna be, and it's gonna be a really heavy lift.
Okay.
And then after that, it's more like maintenance.
Okay, that's great.
So that's why I see like this consultant too, like working to help us set up a good program, and then we can maintain it from there.
I agree, I think we have the momentum now, let's keep it going.
Okay,
But definitely I would say at least until the first town meeting, if not the second town meeting, we'll have to do a lot of work. And then after that, meet a lot less frequently.
and then I think it's important for this, the committee leadership and the committee to understand that, something I didn't fully understand when I took on the task force responsibilities. It's important at key times to keep the media, you know, to input into Anchor and to make sure that the website is current in terms of what's going on and what's happening. I think that's an important thing for this committee to have to do, as well as they need to understand that at the end of the year, whatever's been accomplished during that previous year, that needs to be a part of the annual town report. And so, you know, I would just emphasize that as a sort of, I'm sorry, something that this committee ought to consider.
Can we send, I'm gonna make up an acronym here, can we send RFAs, requests for applications, to like the planning board, conservation, these other committees, you know, how would we go about pulling people? What's the best way to pull people from these committees that we feel we need to involve?
You know, so there's kind of like two approaches based on what you're saying today. Does the committee itself kind of get together and say, this is the person we might like to be on this full committee? Or do you want to receive names and then you ultimately decide who it's going to be?
I think in some ways, it's almost better to receive names, because I'm just gonna pick on you because you're closest. Let's say we pick Amy from the planning board, and Amy has too much stuff going on, she says, oh, well, we're hyperbole here, hypothetical. You know, and I think we run into the potential of, if we pick people, those people not wanting to do it. If we ask people to apply, we know they have an interest. We know that
Yep.
they're at least gonna show up and
I
that
agree
they're
with that.
passionate about it.
I agree with that, yep.
So maybe just ask, or, I'm gonna use my acronym again, RFA, to the committees, we'll maybe send out a memo or whatever
Yeah.
we wanna call
I
it.
think once you have established a mission statement, composition, you know, that you want some geographic representation, then we can send that out to all the committees and say,
Yeah,
the select board is looking for folks who want to serve, and they will ultimately decide who those folks will be, but if you're interested, please submit an application or your name, or,
Yep.
you know, something.
You can do that online, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
That's a good place to start, but to the extent we want fresh faces going to every
True.
committee.
no, but that's just to
That's
get
a good
the,
point.
the
Right.
5
Start.
That's
Yeah.
right.
people, like
Yeah.
Margaret was saying, or the 4, I can't remember how you,
I mean, it
4 or
depends-
5.
Depends on who applies, really, but yeah.
But then, I think, like others have said, we put it out in the public, advertise in the Anchor, maybe on public TV there, that we're looking for other applications from the general public.
It's good to start with the willing.
Right.
Yeah, I think you'll see some interest.
I'm done. I'm exhausted.
Today or in general?
Today, is that an internal
Yeah.
statement, or is that just in the
Are we
middle?
into the meeting? Is that a motion to adjourn, Al?
You sound like Forrest Gump.
I'm
when he's
just,
running.
I'm just trying to honor the chair's timeframe here.
Oh, yeah, I did say an hour.
Yeah, that's always good to. I like
Yeah.
that.
I have 2 more meetings after this, so one's at
Yeah.
5, one's at 6.
So I feel like we've accomplished
I think so.
a good deal, and
I think so.
I think we're zooming ahead.
All right.
I will try to get the RFQ on the agenda for the select board meeting for next week. So if we're you're gonna be there talking about composition, we can hopefully talk about that too.
You're talking about the consultant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Al wanted to see a copy, so hopefully that'll be on the select board agenda. But I really appreciate everybody's skepticism about my plan, because I feel like it puts it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If
it's not like you to be
if
skeptical.
it's not the right fit, it's not gonna be worth it for us, and I think that that's something that
Yes.
we learned, yeah.
Been there.
Strikes me, quite frankly, you're not looking, I think, for a consultant for the implementation committee. You're looking for a consultant for some particular tasks that the implementation committee
Yes.
may be doing, which would require certain kinds of expertise and a certain
Yeah.
time limitation, too.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems with our prior consultant was she was given a very broad sort of a canvas to paint on, and she did, and it just got out of control. frankly. But focused, and therefore there might be
Yeah.
one or two consultants, depending on the timing or the issue involved.
And she
Yeah,
also,
good-
she
good
brought a
point.
lot of people in that seemed like they were gonna work on the plan, that seemed really good, and then they fell by the wayside. And the consultant was great at GIS, but not so good at public process. And I just wanna say one other thing, I think
Spot on.
the planner is ultimately
Mike,
the
Amy.
professional staff, the planner is ultimately the professional staff on town, who is going to be in charge of those who are in charge. Like, a lot of what's gonna happen out of implementation is gonna fall on the planner's plate. And so this consultant is to help her do her job, not just the committee, but also the planner's job. Because she's got a lot of balls in the air.
That's a
And,
good point.
Yeah, I appreciate that point, because Margaret is a one-person department, and so we keep talking about what do you need for assistance? And so we're kind of using this contracting model to provide some of that assistance for
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah,
Great point.
All righty.
All right,
Thank you all,
All right.
thank you.
thank you.
All right.
much
All right.
appreciated.